Montana State visits number 3 South Dakota State Saturday night in what will be a good litmus test for the program with Bobcat radio analyst Jason Alvin. I'm Jay Sanderson. The Cats got the season off to a good start last week with a come-from-behind home win over Western Illinois. Jason, what needs to happen to move forward and build on that game?
Well, I think it starts with the offensive consistency. First half, second half were two completely different halves. You saw Troy Anderson complete one pass in the first half, come out of the locker room, complete 5 straight passes, take him on an 81-yard drive right down the field into the end zone. They're going to have to find passes that he's comfortable with, get him in a rhythm, and you saw how explosive the offense can be when he's in that rhythm.
Well, perhaps the most interesting storyline headed into this game is that it's South Dakota State's opener. Their scheduled opener last week at Iowa State was canceled because of severe weather. Each team had one possession at the time the Storms moved in. There are a lot of different ways to see how that could impact the game. How do you see it?
Well, obviously South Dakota State would love to have more than 12 game reps under their belt coming into this game because they saw what Montana State did against Western Illinois and were able to come from behind and be physical. And I think maybe that's the biggest difference is this is going to be a physical Montana State team, offensive, defensively. It's going to be different than being in here a season ago.
Well, the biggest question mark for South Dakota State's offense is how will it operate without its top 2 pass catchers from last season? Jake Winicki and Dallas Goddard, they both graduated and had a lot to do with the success of their team. The cancellation of last week's game leaves them still a little unsure of what their offensive identity might be. Give me a pro and a con for how this might go for Montana State.
Well, a pro is both those guys you mentioned are in the NFL, so that's a pro. You don't have to guard either of those guys, and I don't necessarily know if South Dakota State has 2 guys like that were on their team a year ago that can step in and replace a second-round draft choice and probably, I think, an undrafted free agent. But they're going to have playmakers. They're not number 3 in the country without guys like that. The con is, obviously, there's really no game film on any of these other guys. You know what you're going to get with Taryn Christian, a spectacular quarterback that does a lot of things from the shotgun, does a lot of things athletically that are going to be different from last Thursday night against Western Illinois.
In week 1, Montana State's defensive line had its way with Western Illinois, particularly in the second half. A lot of reports out of Brookings say that South Dakota State is a little unsure of what it has on their offensive line. They do have to replace a couple of key starters. In what ways do you think the Bobcat defense can again get pressure and make Taryn Christian uncomfortable in the pocket?
Well, I think this week's going to be a little bit different because if you can add Tucker Yates to the equation, if he plays this week, you can get a push up the middle. Him and Chase Benson can provide that push, Derek Mark, Zach Wright. And then, obviously, we saw how good Bryce Sturck and Tyrone Fa'anono can be off the edge. If you can combine all that and you get all those guys rotating in and out, it could be a really formidable defensive front for the Bobcats moving forward.
Well, it'll be a tough one on Saturday when Montana State travels to 3rd-ranked South Dakota State. We'll be there for all of it, so we invite you to join Jason, Dan Davies, and me for the broadcast of the game all across the Bobcat Sports Network and on the TuneIn app. Our pregame coverage takes the air at 4 o'clock with kickoff set for just after 5. With Jason Alvin, I'm Jay Sanderson for MSUBobcats.com.